Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Dave Wilber, and my friends call me the Turfgrass Zealot. I hope everything's going well for you. I really do. I'm just making a couple of quick adjustments here to my setup as I've been continually trying to improve things. Just a little, you know, just a tad. And there we go. I was also searching for a better internet connection, so a couple minutes late this morning. That's kind of how it works. What is this music? It's like I put on the copyright-free fantasy music, it says, and I feel like I want to go march through the forest to, you know, hunt some orcs, right? That's what it feels like. All right, I'm just letting people kind of drift into the live feed here. As always, you know, please use the live chat, whatever you want to say. I'm hip to including it in what we're doing. Feels good to be back. Thank you for, we missed last week due to several factors and a couple of technical ones, both with me, technically with me. How about that? But no, it was just incredibly long week, and I was finding myself with pretty much without a voice. So that was, you know, when you want to talk to people and you don't really have a voice, that's kind of weird, huh? Good morning. And it feels good just to turn on the lights. And, you know, I got in here a little early this morning just to make sure that the Windows update that happened not long ago stuck and all that stuff. So it's, you know, it's just cool to be up early, cool to be doing my thing. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Justin Woodland is here. If you don't know Justin Woodland, Justin, I wish you'd put your Twitter, well, Ergonomics, I guess you can find him at Ergonomics on Twitter. But you want to put your Twitter handle in the feed for any of you, please do that. But especially for Justin, because he's just such a good guy and such a good friend and always a supporter. And Lord knows we always need supporters, don't we, in our worlds? Oh man, this feels good to have the microphone on. I also was not live streaming on Twitch for the last couple of weeks, and I'll talk about why here in just a few minutes. I was while I was warming up the engines here, I was just kind of taking a look at the Women's Senior Open stats at Brooklawn Country Club in Connecticut. And, you know, there's no, well, I don't know, maybe it's no, I was going to say it's no secret, but I don't know that I've heard, but I am a huge Annika Sorenstam fan. So it's fun to see Annika play golf. It's fun to see her, playing in the senior ranks and doing that whole thing. But really, honestly, and the USGA's did a good job of there we go. J Woody 1972. Please follow Justin. Give him a follow, will you? J Woody 1972 on Twitter. You won't regret it. So as I was saying, I think the USGA has done a really good job of putting some promotional stuff together and saying, hey, this is a pretty cool thing that's going on. There's some of golf's very best players all playing in the Senior Open. And you know, of course they've used a few of the more famous ones to do that, but still there's so much good golf being played. Again, I'm an Annika Sorenstam fan. Love Annika. I've had the chance to meet her a couple times, and that was very cool. I'm also a Julie Inkster fan, and although I'm looking at Julie like she's tied for 15th right now coming into Saturday, the reason I'm a Julie fan is because well, two reasons. Her mom was a member at my club in Northern California years and years ago in the 90s, and she was great. She wrote the column for the Women's Golf Association or whatever, you know, whatever it was, you know, for the club newsletter and stuff. And she was just cool. And Julie was out, played the golf course a few times, and was always very gracious with me. I was invited to play golf with her, and I turned that down. I mean, come on, I'm gonna play golf with you Inkster with my game. But man, she was she's just a very personal, very interesting person, and we got to sit and talk about golf a couple of times, and that was way high up there on the experience meter, right? So I love that, and just a really good person. Also, Julie's half brother, Mike Simpson, golf course superintendent at Los Altos Country Club. So she had that in her deal, and yeah. So I'm a Julie Inkster fan. Laura Davies is in the hunt, and of course, I think she leads the world in driving distance in the women's world for sure. Michelle McGann's on here. There's just so many good names. So please don't miss the Women's Senior Open. And I really haven't looked into, like how well it's being covered and stuff, but this is pretty cool. And I know it's competing with the Olympics and all that, but don't miss it, right? Speaking of the Olympics have been getting some pretty good coverage on the golf scene. I kind of love that. What I really loved is they were talking about the 007 Bentgrass at one of the venues, which I thought was cool, right? Here, let's see if I don't know if I know how to say it. Olympics golf. Let's see what I can come up with here. It says Jander Shoffley's leading, so I guess, I don't know, do I know much more than that? There's a lot going on here. Xander Shoffley leading. Hideki Matsuyama right behind him. That's pretty cool. Paul Casey and Carlos Ortiz in the hunt. That's pretty great. So yeah, anyway, there was some talk about the bentgrass greens and how good it was. So I loved seeing that, right? So wow, this Olympics website is it's not so stellar. Well, it's golf. They're just not going to give golf their due, are they? What's going on here? Wow, listen to this music. It's like I definitely want to go hunt some orcs now. Where's Paul Casey? What's Paul Casey in the hunt here for? Oh no, it was just some video. Okay. Okay. Well, not a lot of great news or earth-shattering news from the Olympics, but hey, still very cool. Still very cool. And again, you all know how I feel about tournament golf. Not necessarily my thing, but it's it's sometimes where the headlines are. So we do it that way. Okay, so what else is going on? For me, I've taken a little bit of time away from streaming and all that sort of stuff, so we'll be back to that and streaming on Twitch. You can find me there at the Wilberforce, and I think we'll be doing the afternoons at least for a little bit. So sometime after 3:30 p.m. Mountain Time, so whatever that translates for you. But yeah, you can find me all over on that, and I've been streaming a bunch of different stuff, some space games and some things like that. So if you're into gaming, or if anybody in your family, some people told me the other day that their kids like watching me. They think it's cool that I'm old and I can compete. I don't know how to take that. I guess I'll take it as a plus, I guess. So that's pretty cool, right? Back to that. I've been doing some training with one of the local school districts here to be up to speed, to be able to service them a little bit with some of my skills. And it looks like I'm going to be kind of getting involved in special needs stuff and some transportation stuff and all that. And that's pretty cool. So I've had to go through the required classes and those things. So I've been doing a little bit of that during the day, which is really cool. And it's a great opportunity, I think, for me to give back to the community, and to do something cool. So I don't know where all that's going to go, but I'm excited. I'm excited to just get to learn some new things. I did crisis prevention and intervention training the other day. And most of it was how to deal with upset people. And I was thinking, man, golf course superintendents need this. There was a lot of great stuff there, and I'm definitely gonna pull some stuff from that. Some really great stuff. In fact, I actually wrote to that organization seeing what I could do to become a trainer for them, or to get certified to use their materials, whatever it was, because I was just so impressed with what they were doing. And God, we don't want to talk about that stuff, do we? We don't want to talk about upset employees or upset members or upset golfers, golf pros, whoever. But it's there, it exists, and we live in a much different time. And I was really glad to get some a little more formalized kind of, resolution management type stuff going on, and that was fun. So crisis prevention and intervention, and then of course some of that training sadly was to do with and again I've had to take a little bit more training to understand like what it means when schools are on lockdown, and what the various emergency codes mean and all that stuff. It's like, oh man, I don't want to think about this. I don't want to think about school tragedy, but it's a real thing in their world, and they talk about it, and they're not messing around. At Cherry Creek Schools here, which is who I'm doing this stuff with, the security guys are all these, ex-military guys, ex-cop guys, and they're pretty serious cats, man. They're not messing around, and they're taking risk management really seriously. So, I'm impressed with that. But wow, I'm just thinking back to my school times. I didn't need an ID to get on a bus or an ID to go in a door. Those kinds of things, right? And there wasn't facial recognition software looking at everybody who walks in the building. But all that exists now, sadly. It kind of sucks, and it's not gonna lie, I don't like it. How about that? What is this music, man? I thought I picked something good. Let's figure something else out, shall we? Let's figure something else out. Maybe we go. I don't know if this will be any better. Copyright free music. Let me just, before I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but copyright free music. So I've had a really good relationship with an electronic musician, the Polish Ambassador, right? And some of you have heard on my podcast and stuff, I use the Polish Ambassador for some of my stuff. And I used the Polish Ambassador track or two recently on the Turfgrass Zealot project, and I got a copyright strike. I got several copyright strikes from YouTube. And it's one of the reasons that I'm not playing a bunch of video and stuff like from these golf tournaments and whatnot, because I get copyright strikes on every one of them. And I make a case that, hey, it's fair use. I'm making commentary and all that. But with background music and back music, it's a different sort of story. And I thought I had a financial arrangement that kind of worked with the Polish ambassador's stuff to use their catalog. However, as it turns out, YouTube is in the way, and there's issues there. And so, it's like, oh, I guess I can't use you guys' stuff, which really sucks. Also, along the same lines, there are several local Denver bands and friends that play in various bands across the country, music that I like, that unfortunately, because that music is often owned by others as far as the recording and copyright rules go, the distribution rules go, I should say, then I can't use it on YouTube, right? So then YouTube has a catalog of music of preferred stuff, but some of it is it's just not what I'm looking for. So I've had to resort to working with a company called Epidemic Sound, and their Epidemic Sound is a great company. They're doing cool stuff, but I've struggled to find playlists and whatnot that really make sense, for what I want to do and for the things that I want to set. But it's coming, I'm I'm getting there. We'll see what happens. I continue to build that, and they continue to build their catalog because they know that this is the perfect time. Again, the rules have really changed in the last few months. And even on my Twitch stream, I used to be able to pretty much put on anything I wanted on there. And now that's all getting copyright issues. And so shoot, it's even come down to on Twitch, if you certain games haven't taken care of what they call DMCA clearance, then you're gonna get copyright struck there just for playing the game. So I don't know, really nutty. Anyway, I digress with all that. Well, how about it, chat? Anybody got anything you want to bring up this morning in chat? Please do that. And hey, while I'm at it, don't forget to like and subscribe. That way you'll get the notifications for when I go live. And it just helps the whole algorithm thing. It helps YouTube bring this to people who would be interested in my thing, right? So, yes, I know you love me. I know you like me, but hit that button anyway. It just makes this thing work along the lines of the algorithm, which is the big thing with all that. And again, you can follow me on Twitter, Turfgrass Zealot. So, and occasionally we have some fun there, and occasionally we go at each other, but it's all good. The golf architecture crowd has been really kind to me lately, as there's been some good stuff about me in Tom Doak's most recent book about Pacific Dunes. That's been nice. I've gotten a few nice notes. I've gotten a few, I want to build a green in my backyard type notes too, which we don't really do ever. I never say never, but never build a putting green in your backyard. Leave it at that. All right, so I wanted to talk about some agronomy today. I wanted to talk about grass selection, interseeding, and some stuff like that. And again, part of that is because people have been using me for that kind of work for a long time. And then lately people have been talking to me about that. And, my grass selection thing is, I don't know, it's an algorithm amongst itself. When I get hired to select grass, and we're gonna touch on grow-in for a second too while I go through this. But when I get hired to develop a grassing spec, man, I have this really deep and involved. It's almost emotional process that I go through. I access a bunch of different weather records. I look at a bunch of climate data. It's deep. I look at obviously the geomorphology, water quality. I mean, it's a multifaceted kind of picture that I put together, right? And it's almost like the 15 circle Venn diagram. And I try to figure out where that center is, where that win is. And once I get done with all that, with all of that, I basically scrap it and do it again. Which is a technique that I learned actually by watching some detective show where they were like, not a lot of times with the cold case type thing, and they missed something or whatever, and they just, instead of going back through and rereading the information that's there, they just pretty much develop new stuff. So that's kind of what I do. It's really involved. It's almost emotional. And so when I get asked to look at grass selection, that's what we go through. Now, let's contrast that. Let's contrast that to the two types of phone calls I get about grass selection. One obviously from golf course superintendents, and the other from, owners, architects, that side of the world. We'll lump owners and architects together, and we'll put turf heads over here and architects and owners over here. There's my camera. And it's funny because marketing, and I understand marketing plays into everything, but it's really, really interesting to me. Golf course superintendents will come at me, and they will probably, the first thing they'll start to talk about is who else in their world may have used the particular grass that they may have their eyes on. Well, they did it down the road. They did it across the street. They did it across the state, whatever, with this or that or the other. They will often, it's almost like superstition, right? They'll lend this kind of, well, I heard this, or I heard that. And what's great about, me and the access that I've been given is that a lot of times I already know the story and it's untrue, right? The rumors aren't true. Created once again by marketing. Or, unsubstantiated kind of thing. So we have to kind of go through that process of erasing, the whole deal. If we have time, of course, at the particular site that we're working on or whatever, especially if it's a restoration renovation kind of thing. Hey, let's do some trials. Let's plant some grasses. Let's let you, mess around with some plots and see what we can come up with. We don't always have time for that. Nice when we do. And I just kind of help people get through that, and that's cool. What we have to do sometimes is then interface with an architect, with an owner, and again, they've heard all the marketing spiels and they get marketed towards, hey, buy our grass, right? Buy the grass that we produce. And again, it also, especially in line with the architects, is they may have had a successful or an unsuccessful project somewhere nearby or somewhere anywhere, really. And they'll say, well, we used this, didn't work. It didn't work. Or it works really great. And that's all I want to ever do again, ever, any place in the world. And neither one of those strategies is right. Neither one of those strategies is correct. So unfortunately, I have to kind of untie a lot of those knots, and it means a lot of communication, which I'm good at, which I like, and all that sort of stuff. But some of it is, feels like a little bit of time wasting. Here's the message I want to kind of, as I get through this part of it, here's the message I want to give all of you guys. And I'm loving, by the way, seeing people drifting in here, and some of you are watching on a bit of a time delay, which is great. Stay with that. But I'm often kind of, I don't know, it's not mad or anything. It's just, wow, this is really bizarre. Why haven't you thought of this? And why haven't you thought of that? And I'll say that to the golf course superintendent. Okay, I hear the norm, but what's outside of the box thinking that could work? Could really work. I mean, I'll give you an example. Links golf is a thing, right? And in the world stage, links golf is usually a coastal thing, usually the British Isles, that kind of stuff. But we wanted to bring links golf to places like Oregon. Well, it's similar to the British Isles climate-wise. Okay, that works. We can bring some of those grasses. But when we started talking about links golf in places, like this, the Sand Hills, Ballyneal, those places in the middle of the country, Wisconsin, on and on and on, right? Then it's like, oh, will that really work? Because, there's no ocean here. There's no sea breeze. The climate is different. And so we do the climate studies and we figure it out. And I can't say, well, gosh, it worked in Bandon, Oregon, so it must work in Holyoke, Colorado. No. There's more to it than that. And, those conversations are fun for me. It's a riot to kind of try to figure it out. And we've learned some things like, okay, we thought we were this correct, but we just missed it, and we'll fix that. And those things are not hard to fix. And that's the other thing that I wanted to kind of get to this morning. There's so many people that think, well, we started with this, we have to end with this. And a great example is somebody who's had, really great POA greens for a long time. And now the climate's starting to change both politically and golf wise. And, hey, we may want to look at, growing bent grass here. There may be a rebuild situation, there all that sort of stuff. And then got the superintendent who has been growing POA, most of their career is going, well, I know everybody wants bent grass. It's not really what I know. And they start down this road. And unfortunately, that road sometimes can make them, and they don't want to look this way. I understand nobody wants to look this way. Nobody wants to make them look this way, but they start down a road that they don't know as much about, that they're not as expertise in, and it makes it sound like they don't know what the fuck they're talking about, right? And I go, whoa, 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 stop. Hold that up, right? And again, it's filled with, rumors and, well, I heard this guy only uses X number amount nitrogen, or I heard this superintendent, they only do this, that, or the other, or this one doesn't verticut, this one does, blah, blah, and all this starts, right? And again, superintendents, I love superintendents, right? Because they're like great chefs. They don't mind sharing what they're kind of doing, but they won't necessarily always tell you all the details about how they get there. They may leave that one ingredient off the recipe because it's just part of their technique. It doesn't go on the recipe card because that's just what I always do. I always season this way, or I always do that. My dad was a chef. He did that stuff. And I'm like, Dad, well, you should know, that when I remember I was trying to work out one of his bread recipes one time. This is when he was alive, and I'm like, it wasn't working out, and I'm like, what's going on? And so we stepped through the whole thing, and as it turns out, he was mixing 2 different kinds of flour. It wasn't on the stuff he sent me. And I'm like, well, why didn't you tell me that? And he said, well, it's just how I do it. You should know that when I'm doing this kind of bread, I, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, no, I didn't know that. Thanks for telling me now after I've failed a dozen times. So you see what I'm getting at, right? Golf course superintendents have certain techniques in their quiver that always happen, things that always happen in their world. We always use, this wetting agent. We always water this way. Things like that. They're not going to come out in hey, I use this grass or that grass, or we converted to this grass or that grass. So you got to be really, really careful. And again, I'm not saying this is malicious. I don't think it is. I think supers, as far as other areas of agriculture and other areas of the world, they're actually really cool about their information. But I think it's those partial leave outs, those little things that can often make a huge difference that don't get in, they get lost in translation. So there it is. So, grass selection, and a lot of you now, the reason I'm talking about this now, because here we roll into August 1st, and a lot of you are going to be making, some overseeding, interseeding situations. There's always those fall projects that go on, what do I do? And I can tell because we start to get the phone calls. I start to get the emails, the texts, the phone calls, hey, I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about that. I've heard this, I've heard that. So I love talking about it, right? And that's a good thing. So grass selection in and of itself is art, science, a lot of research, a lot of background digging. I love it, right? I love doing the Columbo thing. I love calling people up and asking the same question 9 different ways. Well, hold on a second. What if, Columbo, boy, I'm dating myself. Most of you that are listening to this probably have no idea what the hell that even is, but look it up. Peter Falk was in a show called Columbo. He was a detective. And of course, what do you do when you're on TV and you're a detective? You solve the cases. He always solved the case. So that's the grass selection part of it. Now let's move on for a second and talk about this whole interseeding bit. For years and years and years, I've always heard from various sources. I've had deep conversations, near arguments, all those, been told I'm crazy and all that, because there's a sentiment out there that says, hey, if I have, and I don't know, we'll just use one example. If I have, greens that are mostly POA, I can't really get bentgrass population back into them. I got to start over. And guess what? That's just not true. That's not true. A really strong interseeding program can lead to a big conversion, right? Like really an interseeding program where you're really on it and on top of it, using the proper methods, doing it the right way. I think you can definitely make a huge change and sometimes in a short hurry, right? And we have great tools now. Spikers, seeders, all those sorts of things. What is the win? What is the winning combination? The winning combination, if you want to change the grass in your greens or in your fairways or whatever, guess what? You have to, first of all, pick the right grass that's going to do that thing, and then adapt culturally. So let's go back to the example of the golf course superintendent who's been very good POA manager. And POA will force you to be a good POA manager, or it gives up on you. So that's part of it. And I don't know, copyright free music is driving me crazy this morning. My ADHD is in full bloom. What the hell am I listening to here? First it was stomp metal, and now it's this. What the hell? Come on, there's got to be something better. Can we just find something better? How about this? There we go. Something a little more modern. So as I was saying, so there's this whole thing, hey, my program is kind of set up to keep POA alive, right? Or whatever grass it is, this is what I do. And now I want to do something else. Well, what do I have to switch? Well, I've got to think, okay, I don't mind my annual bluegrass that I used to always want to keep strong to now be in a weakened state so I can keep the new stuff strong. That's a big mind shift. Is that a paradigm shift? That's a paradigm shift. And it's like, okay, so, what are we going to do? And, for a lot of people, it's like, well, the POA's getting verticut, it's getting groomed and all that sort of stuff. And, new young bent grass doesn't respond very well to that. So we got to stop with with that. Those kinds of things, working through the conversion thing. I'm reminded of a golf course where, things were going really well. And I was on a visit with the golf course superintendent. We're just talking, like what's next, what's best. And it's like, well, and I said to him, your fairway product, like this place could have stunning fairways, and, his fairways were good, but it wasn't something that this particular super was really thinking that much about. Right. And I was like, if I was going to turn up the volume here and do it on a, and there were other factors involved. There's tournament factors and some things like that. Right. TV camera factor, right. That kind of stuff. Like, well, if I was going to turn up the volume here, I would do it in your fairways. Well, he thought I was talking about stripes and stuff. And at this particular place, we were very anti-stripe, more of a traditional place, traditional feel. No, man, I'm not talking about stripes. I'm talking about a different grass type. And, the look on his face was just like, and a common look that I get, which is, Wilber, you've lost your mind. I'm here every day. You're not. The hell are you thinking? So we started to talk it through. We started to talk through fairways that were, POA, who knows what else everybody had seeded, and some ryegrass and all that. And we started to talk through like, what could we do? What could be good here? And we came up with Chewings fescue as being our lead grass type. Again, after going through all the, the Chewings fescue was a great way to get to where we wanted to go. We couldn't step clear to bent grass fairways. That was not going to work in that particular situation for a bunch of reasons. But Chewings fescue was going to work. So we came up with a Chewings fescue blend. Nurse cropped it with a little bit of ryegrass. And he started into a pretty aggressive overseeding program on his fairways with the Chewings. And the Chewings was beautiful. We picked the right stuff. We didn't pick the stuff that was going to be gnarly and a little off color. No, we picked the right varieties. Again, you got to do your homework. We couldn't just stop at Chewings fescue. We had to dig in and find the right, and we did, some work on that. And he was amazing. I mean, he embraced the whole thing. I want to say about 2 years later, and I don't know, what did that program cost? an extra 10 or 15,000 in seed. I know for some people that's a lot, but you know, we figured it out, right? There was places to save money. There was other things to do. We changed the fertility program around a little bit, and man, the chewing fescue bloomed into those fairways. I mean, you can see it just, you know, in the corn rows where it was seeded. And we also did some broadcast, did a bunch of different seeding techniques. And, you know, 2 years later, we had a 20% better fairway product than it was before. And it wasn't that bad before. But it was like, you know, it was that next level that a lot of people want to talk about and want to get to. And, you know, we always talk about that as one of our big wins. You know, that was a big win. It was a neat thing. I'm looking to see if the super, who probably knows who I'm talking about, is in the feed this morning. He might say something, but anyway, that's a good example. You know, so what did it take? Well, it took, you know, first of all, a seed purchase and the right seed purchase. 2, timing. You know, when am I going to get this down? 3, cultural shift. Okay, now I need to be willing to back off on that original technique that was keeping things alive and get into the new thing. And this is particularly true with, you know, with bent POA greens. You know, if I have that bent POA green and somebody says, hey, I want to go from 80% POA to, you know, 30% POA, right? That kind of thing, or less. We're going to have to injure some POA. And we're going to find out that probably that, you know, we thought there was a lot less POA there than there really is. Things like that, right? So you get into the paclobutazole, you get into the Trim It program and all those other things, and you're going to be, you know, all my babies that I've been trying to keep alive for so long, I've been nursing through the summer, are suddenly struggling, and, you know, my instinct is to go save them, and no, you're not going to save them. You're not going to save them. You're going to make room at the end for the new babies. And that's really tough. That's a tough mind shift. It was for me, for sure. A hard lesson to learn. So that's how we do that. And so I want to encourage you to do this. I know this is a lot of philosophy and not as much agronomy. There's a ton of agronomy here if you listen to me. But here's the thing. I want to encourage you, if you're thinking about some changes, if you're thinking about, hey, I'd like to step up my program, I'd like to step up my product a little bit. I would like to be a little bit more agronomically sound and a little less on my hands and knees, you know, in the summertime or whatever. I would like to bring that, you know, I would like to bring some modern technology into my thing with, you know, with better grasses, all that. Don't let anybody talk you out of that. When we've done it right, it's worked out good. It's worked out better than good. And we've taken some greens that were really not great and put them into really amazing shape. We've done the same thing with fairways, tees, all that sort of thing. This can be done. And this myth that, oh, you'll never change that green, just, you know, resod it. In some situations, or sod it or reseed it or pair it out or whatever. In some situations, yes, we don't have the time. You know, but you're talking about, you know, maybe 20 grand a year, 25 grand a year, let's say, on an 18-hole thing, versus $250,000 or more, you know, for a gas and regrass type thing. We don't gas as much anymore, but you know what I'm talking about, right? So, you know, a lot of facilities don't have $250,000 laying around and you know, 2 months to close to get it done, right? So we have to figure out how to get that done in the moment, in the, you know, when everybody's playing, when everybody's doing their thing, and, you know, and good, figure it out, right? That's what you do. That's what your job is. And I love that. I love that about golf course superintendents, because they're always so resilient, but sometimes the thinking stops, you know? So, okay. So don't let the idea that it can't be done get in your head, because anything can be done. We've seen that over and over again. Don't let the marketing get in your head, because, hey, that's, you know, and just because it worked here, it didn't work there. No. Don't let the idea that you can't sell it get in your head, because, hey, you can explain to people, hey, I need to change our cultural practice here. And yes, we're going to have some ugly grass for a little bit, but our surfaces will be fine. We're going to be fine. We're going to do some extra work here. You guys are going to love it. I'm investing in your product, blah, 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 blah. You have to be able to sell it, right? There's the marketing. The marketing comes internally, I think. Okay, so you got that part. Then what? What's the last bit to this whole thing? So many times we have, and it's called confirmation bias, right? We get this thing in our head of this is the way. This is the way. Mandalorian reference. It's like, this is it. This is the way. This is what we do. And maybe that doesn't quite produce quite the right result, And you have to be able to step back and look and say, oh man, I missed that, or I didn't know that this would go this way, or whatever. It isn't so much about your big mistake. It's just about, adapting, because nature is a good teacher, right? Isn't that the way to put that? Nature is a great teacher. We'll do a whole podcast on the nature is a great teacher thing sometime, or a whole episode. But for right now, just realize that whole thing happens. So, I mentioned Bally Neal before, and Jared Kalina and his crew do great. Such great people out there, and such a great golf course, and yeah, so much good there, right? And we wanted it. We were purists, we wanted to do the fescue greens, tees, fairways, all that sort of thing. And what we learned is the brown top bent, and the fescue blend on greens was nice, but it was not as good as it could be, not as good as it should be. Right? So, let's get some bentgrass into the world. Let's get some creeping bentgrass, into the world. And they did, and it's turned out great. Now, I think back to a few of the conversations I had to people when, before we ever moved any dirt at Bally Neal, and, years ago. And it was like, there was a lot of talk about, well, maybe bentgrass greens, creeping bentgrass greens, I should say, not brown top bentgrass greens, or the fescue bent green, the more UK type thing. Maybe that wasn't going to be the best thing for out there. Yeah, well, as it turned out, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't as good as it could be. So, the confirmation bias is, hey, I'm right. No matter what, I'm right. And I could have played it that way, but no. And Dave Hensley, and then Jared Kalina, those guys, Dave is now the GM there and was the original superintendent. Jared Kalina is the super there now. All of their staffs, everybody, they've done an amazing job. And there's creeping bentgrass in those greens, and the greens are amazing. Right? And everybody I talk to who sees them, it's like, so good. Yes, it took away that idea that we had that we could change mowing lines. We could mow a green out into a fairway a little bit more. That whole idea like they do at 18 at St. Andrews in the Valley of Sin, mow it, don't mow it. Yeah, we can't do that now, right? Locked in a little bit to where the creeping bentgrass is. But the product is better. And it's better in a lot of ways. So why not? Why not change? Right? So I could sit there and say, well, no, I was right. Well, everything on paper told me I was right. Everything. And everything during the initial phases of the thing. And then, then they started to play some golf. And then, maybe we started to see some climate changing a little bit and all those sorts of things. Like, okay, we got to adapt and adjust. This thing that superintendents do sometimes, which fucking makes me crazy, is just to throw their hands in the air and say, it doesn't work, and run away from it. Instead of saying, well, that wasn't quite what I wanted, and if I just turn the knob just a little bit, I can get it. Instead of just throwing it out. And a second place thing to that is the idea where a super says, I'm gonna do this no matter what. Holding to that. And I'm like that in a lot of things in life. I just want to get my teeth in it. And just pitbull the hell out of it. I'm not letting go, Rottweiler. And you can't, you can't do that. You gotta back off, loosen the grip a little bit, loosen the bite a little bit, and say, okay, what should I change here? What could make this, what could get me that next little bit. I'm not going to throw out everything. I'm not going to throw out the baby with the bathwater, so to speak. You know, it's a weird way to look at it, but you know, that's one of those things my dad would say, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. This is actually a very wise thing, right? But we have to make that adjustment. Just turn the knob just a little bit, skip that extra little bit, and then, you know, things get easier, things get better, people get happier, you get happier, birds sing, the flowers bloom, all those things that we want in golf course management. So that's my spiel about that today. I hope that makes some sense. I've written about this. You can find various writings of mine. I don't know. I could probably, if I wasn't lazy, I could reference all that, but it's not a big deal. I'm available to have those conversations anytime, of course. Best way to reach me is, you know, find me on Twitter. Send me a DM on Twitter. And the Turfgrass Zealot, you can find me here. Of course, we're here on Saturday mornings, which has been a really fun thing to hang out with you all. And although I have to, you know, beat up on my chatters here. Come on, you guys, you know, use the chat. It's here. I love it when somebody says something. I know you're awake that way. And again, I'm on Twitch weekdays. Again, that is not turfgrass oriented content, but some turfies will drop in and they'll ask, you know, we get the conversation going. So it's not a problem. It's a very open and fluid thing. I may happen to be, you know, playing a space game or, you know, playing whatever. I'm playing whatever I'm into because that's my mental health, you know, is gaming. So there it is. All right, chat, you guys got anything for me before we throttle back the engines here? Nothing at all. No, I'm kidding. It's good, man. I'm fine with it. And I realize a lot of you are not watching exactly live. Like, I can see the numbers and I can see, you know, who's watching right now and who's behind a little bit, or I can't see who, but I can just see, you know, the numbers, right? Which is fine. That's how I do it too. Have I ever thought of joining the masterclass team? What is the masterclass team? I don't really know what that means, Justin. I mean, I know what masterclasses are. I know the concept of masterclass. I know mastermind. I've always wanted to do a mastermind kind of group with turf heads, the Carnegie method. You know, I've been a participant in several of those and it's been life-changing. I wish I was confident enough in my own self to lead one. Maybe so, sometime. Masterclass. I will look into that, whatever it is. Justin, you can tell me about it later. Have I ever thought of joining? Sure, dude. You know me. I want to do everything. I want to do what can I do? I mean, look, you know, do turfgrass. Now we're talking about transportation of special needs kids and students. And one of the guys from Colorado Special Olympics reached out to me because of my golf contacts. And so there's some stuff going on with that. You know, I love the first green things and all those things going on. I was not able to do the last one in Colorado, but the two that I've done have been fantastic. Heck yeah, I'll do anything. I'm a yes to the detriment sometimes of my sleep. Anybody else got anything else in chat? If not, I'm going to wrap it up. Now, once again, and I know this sounds like begging, but please hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Just join in on this thing. Help me boost the algorithm a little bit. It really makes a huge difference. And, I mean, that's the best thing I can say about that. So, I know you like me, and I know some of you are already subscribed and followed and stuff, but, you know, you turn on those notifications and as we continue to grow this, it's going to be good. All right, what else? Anything else? I don't think so. I think we covered it all. It's been a nice hour with you guys this morning. And I am so excited about your opportunities in the world, you know? And it seems like so many people are doing so many cool things. And I don't know, the golf business is starting to loosen up a little bit, although some people are still really, really struggling. And, I love talking about labor and stuff, and we're gonna keep talking about labor because it's such a big deal. So that's hurting people as far as getting things done. The superintendent said to me the other day, I now have money for equipment and stuff. I don't have money to get people, to get people going. Let's see what's going on the text thing here. All right. Somebody sent me some information on Masterclass. Cool. Right on. I'll have to look into that. All right. Well, listen, turf heads, thank you. It's been a wonderful morning. I love you all. I appreciate you all. Please take good care of yourselves. Again, July 31st, rolling into August. This is a big push through the dog days for so many people. And so many people are staring their wintertime product in the eye. It's quite the crossover scene. It's always been one of the toughest times in our business. Please take good care of yourselves. Okay, get the sleep, get the nutrition, get the human side of things together. It will make a huge difference. My name is Dave Wilber. My friends call me the Turfgrass Zealot. Sometimes they call me the Bear, but the Bear and I appreciate you being here today. Please have a fantastic week. I will see you next week. And again, I love you and I appreciate you. Take care.